Black student leaders at Arlington High School held a protest in front of Town Hall, which drew a crowd of more than 300 in the sweltering summer heat.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water.
But few were thinking about the hot summer temperatures. This was a 3-hour peaceful protest to address what they call systemic racism within the Arlington public school system.
We need to decolonize the history system. We need to learn more about Black history. Everyone should know more than just who Martin Luther King is, that slavery existed. It goes back so much more than that. Our school system needs to touch on who Marcus Garvey was, who Medgar Evers was, who other people was. The civil rights system in particular was bigger than Dr. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. It was so many more individuals.
And they were remembering the countless African-American victims whose lives were cut short because of blatant ignorance, brutality, inhumanity. Freddie Gray, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd.
Today is the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. There is an eclipse tonight. And you stand here where? In Arlington, Massachusetts. Arlington? That's what I said when I got the call. Arlington? We stand in Arlington, Massachusetts. You are here to lend your support. You are here to stomp out systemic racism. You are here. And we thank you for being here. Give yourselves a hand for being here.
There were a lineup of speakers attesting to their own and sometimes hurtful experiences, just trying to find their way through everyday life.
I want us to make sure that this is clear before we continue on with today's events. Our purpose of standing out here on this hot day is not to condemn or call out certain individuals or systems within Arlington Public Schools. Everyone and everything has room for growth. By standing here today, we want to address these issues and work towards something better, and in doing so, we need the help of all of you. Thank you. Now's not the time for it to become a black and white issue, but it's an issue for everyone to come together on. It's no longer that Black people, because it involves them, they should be the only ones fighting. We need our white allies because they are people who can easily reach government. Sometimes they have higher standings, or the standings that they have can help us and help us achieve our goals.
So this is just kind of breaking point almost of George Floyd, him saying he can't breathe, him calling for his mother, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and it's just so sad that it keeps on happening month after month, week after week. So this is just the breaking point where we just want change now.
If we're going to be a community, it's not just going to be the Black community that makes this happen. This is not Black versus white. This is humanity versus racism. This is humanity versus systemic racism. This is love versus hate. We need to understand that this is a time for all of us to come together as people, and we need to change the world that we are in.
The repeated killings of Black people in the United States serves as a reminder, an unnecessary reminder, of the violence, the injustice, and systemic inequality Black people have had to face in this country in every sphere of their lives. For instance, Black people are far more likely than white people to die at the hands of police. They're more likely to become unemployed, be undereducated, and as COVID-19 has laid bare all too clearly, they are far more likely to suffer the burdens of ill health. Rallygoers here today say it's time for many of us, many Americans, to put their biased and well-documented opinions aside. Just sit down and listen to what everybody has to say.
Understand that there's a system in place and understand that you perpetrate it. You're part of it. We need to change it, but first just listen to the voices that are crying, listen to the voices that are in pain, listen to the voices that are angered. If we want to change, we need people in power to listen, but we need to understand that it might not come from the president, it might not come from Congress, it has to come from our communities, it has to come from our local state government. We need to change, we need to vote, we need to understand that our voices are heard, but we also just need to listen and listen to each other and listen to what is going on.
I have 2 younger sisters. One of them's 14 months younger than me. One of them's 6 years younger than me. And I'd never, ever want them to feel the way I do. So we need to talk. It's long past the time to talk. And even when we talk, everyone needs to listen. It's no good if we talk and it goes in one ear and out the other. They need to listen and they need to change what's going on.
I do not want to cry anymore. I do not want to fight the same thing over and over again. I want to fight for change. I do not want to dwell on the past. I do not want to dwell on the pain and anger for over 400 years we have been facing. I'm here to reform Arlington Public Schools. I am here to reform the community. But I am here for change because we are tired of seeing young Black men and women get shot and killed. We are tired of them having to be isolated and not hearing their voice heard. It is hard. It is hard, but we will not stop fighting. We will keep on going. And I'm very glad that all of you guys are here today to support me.
I'm here because I think we've all just watched this happen like year after year. This is not even close to enough, but like I think it's just reminding people like once you've done this, that's when you just start sending emails to your representatives and calling people and signing petitions and donating. But it's just like a great way to let like the town know and everyone know that like this isn't gonna stop anytime soon.
Among those in the crowd, Congressman Joe Kennedy III, who's challenging Senator Ed Markey for a Senate seat come November. Kennedy's people told ACMi News he just came to quietly observe, but that he was absolutely moved by the speaker's accounts, and it reminded him of why his family joined this fight so long ago.
100 years of delay have passed since President Lincoln freed the slaves, yet their heirs, their grandsons, are not fully free. They are not yet freed from the bonds of injustice. They are not yet freed from social and economic oppression. And this nation, for all its hopes and all its boasts, will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
So I'm obviously very proud of the contribution my family's made, but I think they would be the first ones to say that obviously our work isn't complete. That 52 years after 1968, one of the most tumultuous years in our history, we are still having the same conversations and still in a quest for healing. And that this has got to take more effort and more engagement and more courage on behalf of everybody, but in particularly white America, to recognize the fact that if we are going to actually address these issues, we have to be far more deliberate and intentional and aggressive about doing so.
A lot of the people here, Black Lives Matter, a lot of the groups are saying, look, you have biased opinions with other races, not African Americans, but you have biased opinions that have lasted for years. They haven't gotten us anywhere. All we want you to do is listen. Why do you think that's so hard for a lot of our society not to get?
Look, I think that's where this starts. It starts with recognizing the fact that the histories, the reality, the lived experience, obviously, that I have. You know, I'm a very privileged white guy. It's going to be different than an experience that other people have. I mean, you learn about the Civil War and Reconstruction and Jim Crow and the Civil Rights Movement, but the Fair Labor Standards Act, the GI Bill, the Fair Housing Act, the myriad ways of local zoning laws that we still codify and prevent true lived equality and access to economic and social justice, largely based upon the calcification of racial disparities. And that's got to change.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
After the rally at Town Hall, protesters then made their way to Mill Street and Millbrook Drive.
George Floyd! Whose lives matter? Black lives matter! Whose lives matter? Black lives matter! Whose lives matter?
Finally ending their 3-hour rally in front of Arlington High School. Banners were then attached to the red construction barrier currently lining the sidewalk along Mass Ave. Then, protesters dispersed peacefully. But the movement and the fight for long overdue solutions endures.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
No peace! No peace!
We are confronted primarily with a moral issue. It is as old as the scriptures and is as clear as the American Constitution. The heart of the question is whether all Americans are to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities, whether we are going to treat our fellow Americans as we want to be treated.